As we are nearing the final pitch, it is time to talk about pitching. What are some rules that you have to follow in your pitch? Let's start. First of all, I would like to advise you to use a tool that will make your life easier, make your visuals look better, and make you easily create a logo and professional looking slides. One example is canva.com. Canva is also a startup that specializes in making people like you, entrepreneurs or young professionals, to have professional looking slides very easily. They provide you with icons, logo options, and so on. Just make sure that if you don't want to pay money, to choose the free options or the free material on the platform. Now, it is very important for you to make sure that your pitch deck or your pitch slides are very visual in nature. Common rules are you should use very minimal text, so only a few words per slide, definitely less than 7. No bullet points, so this is not a school presentation, it's not a research presentation, it's a pitch. So you're trying to sell something, you're trying to convince your potential investors or your jury members that you have the best idea out there. And definitely do not use any small font, because again, this has to be visual. And a great example is the slide that we have here. This is a great slide. It's very visual, it has an image, it's powerful, it has a big font, and people can easily get the message. Again, think billboard when you want to think about pitch slides. Make it visual. These are a few examples of how a slide in a pitch deck should look like. Definitely, you can rely on a lot of icons. These are, you can find them on Canva or on Google or on other repositories, and they will make it easy to understand what you're talking about when you're talking about your problem, your solution, and so on. Another good example of a slide, for example, is this one. So it's simply you're talking about different components and how they relate to each other. So these are good examples of slides. Let us talk a little bit more about the format of the pitch deck. So I will first start with the format, the content, and then I will talk about some other things that you need to keep in mind and take into consideration when preparing for your pitch. All you need for a pitch deck is 10 to 12 slides. Remember, you will have very minimal time to pitch your idea. Usually, pitch competitions will allow a pitch between 3 to 5 minutes. Like, I've never seen something that's a bit more than 7 minutes. So definitely you need to ask the organizers of the entrepreneurship club about the exact duration that you have, but usually it is in that range. So you have to make sure that you will do this while being comfortable, talking at ease, being confident and relaxed. So it's not that 3 minutes is too little, I have to rush things out. On the contrary, it has to be very smooth, very easy flowing, and very convincing. Let's talk more about the actual content. The very first thing that you need to always start with any entrepreneurial pitch is your problem. And this is what we have been focusing about all through this program. Remember our design thinking, remember the business model canvas. So we always start with the problem. What is the problem that you are trying to solve? If you can convince your audience that you're solving a worthwhile problem, that this is important, that this actually needs to be solved, then you've already captured their attention, and now they want to know more, they want to listen to you, and they're really intrigued by what you're trying to do. But if you start off like in a very regular way, very easy way, nobody will really be very interested. So you have to really take off very strongly with your problem. Why is it important? Give us some shocking statistics, shocking figures, maybe an image that will move our emotions. You should be really creative and make sure to start with a strong problem that will be convincing. After you talk about the problem, and you can of course highlight why this problem should be solved or what are the opportunities if we solve it, you have to talk more about your solution. What are you doing to make this change? What are you doing to solve this problem? And here I need you, when you are moving from one slide to the other, don't just read the title and like behave as if this is a school presentation. It's not. Again, it's a pitch. It has to be a well-flowing story all over from beginning to end. So for example, you say, did you know that 95% of the population is I don't know what and I don't know what? This is why, and here you flip to the other slide, we decided to create Pro Max. Pro Max is a mobile application that does 1, 2, 3. So you really have to have a flow, and the transition between one slide to the other should be very smooth. And the solution, you're simply telling us what's your solution. Again, this is very similar to what we talked about in the lean model canvas. So it's high level technical description of your solution. It's a mobile app, it's a web app, it's a matching platform that does what? 1, 2, 3. This is what it does. And then you have to tell us, why is this unique? What makes it different? What is its competitive advantage? Why do we need to choose your solution and not the other solutions in the market? After this slide, you can maybe have a competitive analysis slide, or you can mention it when you're talking about UVP. It really depends on the flow and on the story that you are tackling in your pitch deck. It's very good to demo your solution if you are able to, if you have anything based on like the prototyping session that we had and on the tips and tools that we provided. If you can have a demo by the time of the pitch, that would be great. And it's always better to show that you've attempted to do something than just having an idea in mind. And remember that there are many ways to prototype. It doesn't always have to be sophisticated and complex and like using sophisticated online tools or like software. It could really be simply that you've tried to do this via WhatsApp or via Facebook groups or many other ways as we spoke earlier. So make sure you have something to talk about. You need also to talk definitely about your business model. How do you plan to make money? And this will apply to all kinds of entrepreneurial ideas, whether they have a social impact or not. There should always be a business model. It should always be a sustainable and a feasible idea. And here maybe if you have also done your like a budget exercise and you have some forecasts in mind and you believe they are good to mention, then it would be a good idea to mention this here and say, okay, how interesting is this market? How big is it? How much money can we make in the near future? So show it if you think it's attractive and interesting. Your go-to-market strategy. How do I plan to reach my target audience? So if you haven't really talked yet at this point about your target audience, who they are, what are their personas, you need to mention this right here in this slide. And you need, more importantly, to tell us what's your plan to reach these people. So what are the partnerships you've thought of? What are the channels you have thought of? Is it social media? Is it one-on-one meetings? What kind of channels are you using to reach out to your market? This is a very important part because this shows whether or not you have really thought of your startup and your business plan, and if you have a solid plan to reach your customers. This is very important. If you have any traction, again, this is sometimes optional at this stage because you are still at a very early stage and you are young entrepreneurs, but it would be ideal to have some traction. What does traction mean? It means any tangible, maybe interest that you have received, any steps you have undergone to make this a bit more tangible, more feasible, more realistic, any validation that you have received about your problem, your solution from the market, any potential clients who said we're interested. All of this is considered as traction. Of course, if you have started selling, this is great traction. You should definitely mention it. So anything you've done and that proves that this is beyond an idea, it's not just like a good or a nice idea to have, but it's more tangible, it's feasible, you should definitely mention, and it will give you a huge boost in the competition. Your key metrics, you have to mention how do you plan to measure your success, what do your KPIs or key point indicators look like, what would you be looking for to make sure that you're on the right track and that you are being successful in your business venture. As you mentioned, this is also part of the lean canvas. The team behind this is very important. You need to highlight the strength of your team, not just your names and family names, but like, who are you? Why are you qualified enough to be doing this startup? Why do you think this team will drive this startup towards success? Why can't this team actually execute and implement on the plan and not just keep it at the idea stage? It's very important to highlight why you are the dream team behind this startup. And finally, the timeline. Where are you now? What have you done so far? And what do you plan to do next? It's very important to show that you have a solid plan, you've thought about different steps, and you are taking action in order to move forward. Now I want to also tell you that the pitch is beyond a pitch deck. So it's, of course, you have to create your slides. I like recommended you use Canva. If you're using Canva, this will convert into PDF slides, which are perfect, because usually PDF documents do not get messed up if you open them on another computer or you send them by email, so they stay intact, which is great. But you also need to prepare another document in addition to this pitch deck. So the pitch deck is the visual element, but don't forget that you're gonna be talking on top of that visual element, and you won't have the text in front of you. So you have to prepare what you need to say, and this is what we call the script. So this is a written document that shows you, or that you will specify, like, what are you going to say in each slide. So slide 1, this is what I'm going to say. Slide 2, this is what I'm going to say. This should be a team process. You should all in the team be contributing towards this script. You should all be collaborating on it, maybe using Google Docs or any other collaborative environment that you feel comfortable with. But this script is very important. You need to look at every single word in that script and make sure it's the right word to use, because like just changing a few words might really have a big difference, might have bigger impact. You have to be very decisive, very specific. You have to use the right keywords, because if you're not using the right keywords, the jury might end up not understanding what you're doing. And believe me, the worst question or comment that you can get after a pitch is like, can you tell me what are you doing? Or I didn't really get what you're doing. Like, that's the worst thing, because you would have spent like 3 to 5 minutes pitching and like they understood nothing of that. This is why every single word counts in your script. Make sure you run it by strangers, family members, friends, and make sure that they understand what you're talking about, and don't just let them tell you it's great. They have to be critical and honest with you. Now, I really want to emphasize the importance of rehearsals. In pitches, we don't usually ask all team members to contribute in the actual delivery of the pitch, simply because in a pitch, we want you to feel the real thing, like the best person who can do the best performance should do it, simply because we want to increase the chances of this startup and like getting interest from the investors or winning this competition or so on and so forth. So again, it's not just like a school competition where I need to make sure everybody has contributed. The best person should be able to do this, and it's okay if the others don't contribute. Some competitions, they would say, I need only one person to pitch. However, your team should be with you. They should be available. They should have, all of you, you should have your cameras on if you're doing this virtually. And you should be ready and willing to take any questions from the jury. And if there is a Q&A, questions and answer round from the jury, you need to be very open-minded about their comments. You should accept their criticism in a constructive manner, and you should always thank them for their feedback. Say that you're willing to take it into consideration. It's very good to hear from them, and you will definitely make sure to improve things if they pinpoint any areas of weakness and areas of improvement. So this is one of the best parts of a pitch competition, that you get to hear the feedback of experts in the field on how this could be better. So make sure to take this into consideration. And finally, you really need to rehearse a lot. Rehearsals are key for performing well in a pitch. And usually we say every 1 minute of pitching will take you 1 hour of rehearsal. And this is after you have finalized your script. The script will take time, believe me, to finalize, because again, you're choosing every single word and making sure you are writing the script to fit within the time limit that you have, which is not a lot. So please, please, please rehearse and make sure you finish on time. Otherwise, you're going to be cut off and it won't look good. Make sure that you are speaking confidently, you're relaxed, you're very comfortable with the time, and you know your material inside out. And this confidence will add a lot of value and make your pitch much stronger. So I wish you the best of luck for your pitch. I know that you should be ready to do this, and I'm looking forward to have pitch rehearsals with you very soon.